Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. I hope you're having a really great day. And if you're not, well, I hope it'll get a whole lot better. I wish the best, and I know God does too. And this week I've been talking about the prophet Samuel, some of the things he said, some of his words, some of his actions. And I have another little tidbit to share today, and I'll finish up the week with one tomorrow. But let's start today with 1 Samuel chapter 12 and verses 20 through 22. Here's what it says. Don't be afraid, Samuel reassured them. You have certainly done wrong, but make sure now that you worship the Lord with all your heart and don't turn your backs on him. Don't go back to worshiping worthless idols that cannot help or rescue you. They are totally useless. The Lord will not abandon his people because that would dishonor his great name. For it is pleased the Lord to make you his very own people. Well, Samuel says these three words that appear over and over and over again in the Bible. Don't be afraid. And I've talked about that, and I'll talk about it some more. I don't think I can talk about it too much because each day gives us another opportunity to be afraid for something. Each physical hurt gives us an opportunity to be afraid for something. If we have kids, if we don't have kids, we have neighbors. And each opportunity that comes along could create disaster in their lives. Life is that fragile. And as I've said to many folks, the world doesn't care what happens to you. It doesn't matter to the world at all. But it does matter to the person who created the world, to God himself. So Samuel says to the people of Israel, don't be afraid. He reassures them. And he says, now you've certainly done wrong, but don't turn your back on him. Remember to worship God. Now, I want to say very bluntly, I have done wrong. In most cases, I'm sure not all, I've tried to rectify the wrong. In some cases, there's nothing I can do. And I have to live with the fact that I'm responsible for some of that. I wish I could tell you that weren't true, but I'm not perfect. I have my faults and I make my mistakes. And sometimes they're bigger than just little mistakes. You know, preachers don't live our lives, their lives in perfection like some people think. And I don't mind telling you through this media of the internet that I've messed up. But I don't have to be afraid because I continue to worship God and I don't turn my back on him. Now, I've met a lot of people over the years who seem to have turned their backs on God. Now, I've been mad at God. I'm a human being. I get disappointed just like everybody else does. And I complain to God. And I think he's big enough to let me do that. But I will not turn my back on him. I will not quit worshiping him. I may die, but I won't quit worshiping God. Why? Well, it's really pretty simple here. He's done so much for me. I cannot ever give him enough thanks. It says here, don't go back to worshiping worthless idols. People worship a lot of things. I've said over the years, if you look at what you spend most of your money on, what you spend most of your time thinking about, and what you do with most of your activities, that's who your God is. I know you might not want to hear that. And that doesn't mean that we sit around in the church pew looking spiritual all the time. But we could be thinking about God throughout the whole day, wherever we are. We can ask blessings on others that we encounter throughout the whole day, whatever we're doing. We can do everything we can to live out a life that reflects God's goodness and grace. And this is what it's saying to do. And it says that the Lord will not abandon his people. God won't abandon you if you ask him into your life. He may discipline you. He may direct you away from where you want. He may do things that you think are wrong or disappointed, but he will not abandon you. He will always be there. And because he is there, so we can depend on his strength, his presence, his wisdom, his capacities to do things, then we don't have to be afraid. And you know, most people are afraid of something that might happen in the future. Now, if we think about all the things that might happen, that could be a pretty long list. But the truth of the matter is, almost all of those that might happen never happen. This passage is saying, even though you're not perfect, keep your eyes on God. Keep remembering him. Keep worshiping him. Keep being in his presence. Keep thinking about it. Keep trying to serve him. Keep trying to do better than you did before. Keep your eyes on the Lord. And if you do that, he will never abandon you. So I just want to kind of say the opposite of this here. If you feel abandoned, who are you thinking about? Who are you keeping your eyes on? To whom are you trying to worship and work for? I urge you to make sure that the answer to those questions is the Lord. And if that is your answer, then here is God's answer. Do not be afraid. I will never abandon you. Well, think about it. As I said, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll finish up this section on the great words from Samuel. If you have a prayer concern or a need, let us know. We'll do everything we can, as fast as we can, to help meet your need. So until next time, you be careful. Take care of yourself. God bless you.